What is up, everybody? Hope you guys are having a wonderful time. My name is Ethan. I go by Lord Ethan, and I am an Overwatch collegiate varsity coach of coming up on 7 years. I logged my 10,000th coaching hour this year, which is pretty exciting stuff. It's crazy though. I'm always learning new stuff, and that's hopefully what we have convened here together today to do. Today we're going to be taking a look at Jimmy B. They are a Mizuki player. This is a platform Mizuki gameplay or replay code. They say, "Hey, Than." Hello, Jimmy. My name's Ethan, but I go by Lord Ethan, so a lot of people think it's like the Dan. Anyways, it's a little bit funny. I play into it. They say, "I'm looking for a review on my platform Mizuki gameplay. It was a close game, but I always felt like my positioning and decision-making skills need work, or perhaps other problems I decay about." Hey, guys, don't worry, actually. This one is really, really easy. I don't mind if you do a YouTube video about it. In fact, I'm looking forward to it. Haha, thank you. And no, thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for seeking me out. I understand that these have taken a lot of time to put out. I got a lot of feedback, or I got a lot of replay codes, and so at one point I just got a little overwhelmed and bogged down. There's a replay code reset, a mid-season patch right around the corner, so I really need to pump out these replays. I really need to get these codes out. Okay, look. It's going to boil down to something very simple, the high ground. Now, I'm not a huge fan of that shift, being down both of our abilities before we've, as we pass through the choke, and honestly, before we've even gotten to the high ground position, makes me a little bit nervous, right? And so I want us to be really sensitive about using our abilities, especially to, root a tank who really doesn't mind standing there for a little bit longer, and go for a shift to a position that we could have just walked to, right? I don't mind going for the root there, especially since we're going to have to play a little bit slow for a little while, but really, we just want to make sure that we're getting our damage and playing our ranges, right? I noticed as well in this VOD that maybe we overuse the hats just a little bit, and I want to be really careful about peeking the Widow there, right? We can still play really close to the bus and still be able to peek that, right? So really close to our walls, corners, and our covers, right? Never more than about 1.5 meters away at all times is what I'm going to say, right? Going for this isn't a bad play, but you want to be mindful that it's possible there's no one on your team who's going to be able to capitalize off of it, right? So instead, going for something, a setup here on high ground, right, onto a target that might be more vulnerable from a certain angle or certain position, with a teammate who wants to be up there, like the Hanzo, or maybe another hit scan, right, if you have one, and also onto targets who you can do damage to. Now, we get punished out here because we are, again, too far away from our walls, corners, covers, right? So we wander all the way out here, and then we start taking damage, and instead of just taking cover here, right, we actually try to venture all the way back here, right? So I want us to make sure as well that we're moving really deliberately, really intentionally. Now, in my opinion, it took us too long to get to the high ground in the first place. That should be the first place that we're always looking to go, and that is going to be pretty much the gist of this VOD review, right? I also think that we're not quite comfortable with our spacing, right? How close we have to be to land some of these, to land this projectile from Mizuki, but also how far we have to be to also remain safe at all times, right? So, just a little more limit testing, and again, honestly, at the end of the day, you have your best, closest angles, close, your close, safe angles are going to be on high ground, right, at an angle looking down on people wall close to walls, corners, and covers, which you have to wander here back to. A little quick note, you're on top of your Ana there, which makes me really uncomfortable, and you have really nice mechanics. It looks like you're really comfortable with this projectile. Again, the thing that it looks like you're uncomfortable with is the range that you have to play at, right? So instead of moving all the way out here, could you move out here and bounce it off the wall, right? I don't know that you know how short this projectile is, and it also is really interesting to land the projectile for how short it is at some of the targets you're trying to go for. You have to play in some of these better spots and have this better movement for anyway. So it's interesting if you're really good at landing this. By the way, I really hate how many Mizuki players just root the tank just because they're in front of them. There are probably more important routes to go casts for, although I understand that if that's all who's in front of you and that's all that is available to root until you have it back again, which is the case in some of these routes with the Maga, then that's fine. That I think is a fair route, but you guys sunk a lot of cooldowns into just a Maga, and that's a little bit, it's like whatever. You guys trade tanks for it as well, which is really unfortunate. Your Joker Queen takes a ton of damage, but I also wonder if some of your hats are a little flippant. I see his hat for a lot of full HP targets at times. I want to go back to this projectile again. It's interesting to understand that going for the projectile cast learning to do that at ranges that are a little closer might help lead you to some of the better positions to be in. Because I'm going to say it, you've been on low ground this entire time, and it kills me. It makes me sad on the inside to see people playing on low ground, especially on Paraiso, where like you actually have to either play the low ground if your comp works there and their comp is like going to meet you there, or you have to play the high ground because it's like literally the only place that you can set up and play on this map, right? So it really kills me. We're going to see over the course of the entire review, actually, that we just fail reliably to ever go high ground, which again helps us to get some of the closer distances while still playing safe that we need for our primary fire. It gives us some better healing angles, and also helps us be more prepared to be in with our team or against the targets that we need to be in against, right? I also think that our Ash can just passive heal, and you can heal passively there. Maybe no hat, but honestly, it's a pretty fast cooldown here. I don't really care for the fact that you're right in front of the Maga, and yeah, the ult. I wanted to talk about the ult from first point as well. I don't like him. In fact, I'm so sorry, Jimbo. Oh man, JimboSusbo, as you're also known. I really failed to appreciate a single one of the, I don't even know what it's called, but a single one of the Mizuki ults that you casted here. I really like that you go for that route, by the way, on the soldier. That was so worth it. And here, when the Emirate goes for ult, dude, just go in here and hide. Like, that's all that you need to do. And if you have to live there until your team resets and comes back, then fine. But like, go hide. There's no need for you to die out here. Outside of the fact that you should reset with your team. So I guess actually it's good that you die out here. My policy is when the fight is over, die as close as you can, die as quickly as possible on or as close to the objective as you can, right? So this actually works. You reset with your entire team, so that's fantastic. Way to catch your wave, Jim. I have GM players that are obsessed with their preserving their KDA, and they wouldn't make the right call that you did, which was to die with your team. So excellent stuff, Jimbo. Yeah, we're gonna go back and talk about the ults because it's gonna come up again and again and again. You know, they have the Maga. They swapped to Rhyme, but they have the Maga, they have the Juno, they have the Emre ult and Mizu ult have really, I mean, I have almost played nothing but Emre, and I hate Mizuki ult as an Emre player, right? Emre, I like that route, by the way, but, you know, you're on low ground. You haven't gone high ground, and you would have better angles for damage, better, clearer routes onto clearer targets. Your shots would be more reliably landed. Hadi used to tell us even a gold player lands those shots, right? And whoa, I don't really care for that shift because it's not a shift that you're recalling from, although I like that you're playing this more safe position. I don't really care for the double hat on Bob either, but hey, you buy the space and the time. But then you shift, and this is a shift that I can appreciate a little better because you're going to use it to, you're going to actually like anchor back to where you began. I generally don't have actually too many complaints with your shifts, but you also might not use the ability enough for me to like start developing like pattern problems with it. Although here, I don't know that I really care for it. That's a nice route. Your routes are really reliable. I don't know how you land some of these, though. That projectile must be huge, but in my hand, it feels very small. Dude, there's an entire right side of the map to play, by the way. It includes a high ground section of the map, which you should absolutely be seeking to use. You have so many options from here, from here, from here. You can wrap around them and get into here. There's a little area. If you're able to wrap into here, you can climb the stairs up to here, but like high ground, high ground, high ground, high ground. We're here at another Mizuki ult, and I just don't like it. I think that there are so many things on their team that you actually want this ult for. It is a defensive ultimate. It is not an offensive one, at least not for me. I have yet to see evidence of it otherwise. My most irritating instances of playing into a Mizuki ult are when I'm trying to defend something offensive and they use it defensively, not whenever they use it offensively to clear some kind of space or create some kind of pocket of safety. It is almost always when they are doing it in response to missiles that I am launching, bullets that I am sending, projectiles that I am launching. It is always when they're using in response to that as opposed to in preparation for that. Because if someone places a Mizuki ult, and I haven't used my Emre ult, or I haven't used my Tactical Visor, or I haven't used my Bastion ult, I know how to play around that now, right? Because it's already placed. If I use my Bastion ult or my Emre or my Visor, and then the Mizuki goes up, I can't do anything after that. I have to rechange my entire plan, unless I was tracking the Mizuki ult, which we should be tracking ults, which is also part of why you should have your ult for those ults, right? You should have had your ult for the Mizuki ult for the Emre ultimate that killed you, right? And your team. We should have it for the Tactical Visor. We We could honestly have it for the Manga cage, where the Manga cages us, and we, like, Mizuki ult half of the cage, so that he has to walk in. He can't use the full cage just for himself, right? We're not on high ground. That makes our healing hard. It makes our damage hard. It makes our roots hard. It's nice that you LOS that shatter. In fact, I don't think that I've yelled at you about walls, corners, covers. Maybe I yelled at you about it once. But I actually really like how close to our walls, corners, and covers that we're playing. Just get to high ground. Oh, get to high ground. And don't be on the objective. The objective is, like, in overtime, the worst place for supports to be. You can still capitalize on some of your ranges if you're just, you know, on the high ground position, right? You can be up here. You can be dueling people up here. You can be clearing space. You can be building your ult, right? You can be having some really nice hat angles. And, you know, you have an aura, a healing aura. And so you want your teammates to be eligible for that. By playing in like their comfortable ranges, their line of sight, keeping them in your aura, but also I think that it's worth it to understand that you should also play for yourself, and supports aren't always going to be safest on the objective, especially in overtime, right? Especially if you're going up against a brawl composition, which you are, right? So they want to close the distance and jump onto you. They want to make your life really hard, and again, honestly, your better positions are going to be generally on high ground anyways, right? You're really close to building your ult there as well, which was going to be really pleasing, because they were going to come out at some point with an offensive ultimate, or there's another scenario that you would play where they have an offensive ultimate, and you would have that Mizuki ult to play defensive with, because that's what we're going to do with our Mizuki ults, right? Right? Winky face. Alrighty. I like that we're on the high ground. Huh. I really like that we're on high ground. Our hats feel a little flippant. I feel like we hat people who don't take damage sometimes. And we're out a little out in the open for a little too long. And we also had this Cassidy marked. I'll show you when we see him, actually. We see him walking. We see the Cassidy walking. We see him mount the steps. And then we start playing as if he doesn't exist here. Like, of course he's going to be here. Where else is he going to be, Jimmy B? Right? So, you know, kind of a deserved death here. You're on the high ground like I asked, right? But I'm not asking you to be on the high ground as if they're not going to move up to you. I'm asking you to be up on the high ground so that you are literally prepared for when they go up to high ground, so that while they're walking up to high ground, you're doing damage, or you're applying pressure, or you're planning how you're going to disrupt them, or you're saying, oh, you want to take this position, okay, I won't fight for you for it, I'll just go to my next good spot. And that's usually going to be on another high ground, or some other off angle, or something like that. I like the camaraderie building with your Ana. Although you're out of your effective range as Mizuki, right? You're not playing Ashe, you're not playing Bap, you're not playing Soldier or Zen, right? Any of these characters with longer ranges or zero fall-off damage, right? Be careful about how out in the open you are, right? It's possible that actually our better position was going to be for now, like on the low ground, a little bit closer, right? Where we can bounce our projectiles off of walls, but not necessarily out here where we're a little more out in the open, don't have our shield to play around, don't have damage to reliably follow up on, and honestly, we would split the attention of our Ana. We don't want our Ana looking over here. We want our Ana being able to look out of the point as a whole, and one place where we're visible to our Ana is going to be right here as well, right? So possibly smarter positions, and honestly, that's going to be the one time that I'm like, yeah, you can probably opt for the for the low ground there, right? Pick a struggle, coach. I won't. I'll have my cake and eat it too, Jimmy B. You must play on the low ground and the high ground. It's about using 80% of the map, not 20% of the map. That's the principle, right? So these instances you're only playing low ground, I want you to consider the high ground. These instances where you're only playing the low ground, the high ground, I want you to consider the low ground. And the advantages that all of them bring, as well as the opportunity to prevent disadvantages from being further imposed on you, i.e. taking more damage in a position that you're in, when you really could just move to a new position to be in. I also think that you might have been able to off-angle this whole time and find a route, especially since you have that shift. You can off-angle, you can shift, run off to an off-angle, and then do something. You actually even do that here, but it's a little bit late. Like, they've already Kitsune'd and left, and you guys have already gotten picks, and there's already an echo in your backlines, right? Nice try on the route there. I would probably lane the ability a little bit closer, and I'd be really careful about taking this matchup. I do like the fact that we have the shift. A little unlucky that we like TP right back out in front of the echo, and that's going to be the end of it for us, but I think we catch our wave? No, we start our own wave. That's a little unlucky, but that's all right. I wonder what of these scenarios are easier from high ground, not gonna lie. And it's really unfortunate for me to be harping on that same thing. You might want to walk out of a VOD review with, like, you know, a couple of core takeaways, and we've definitely got a couple of ones, right? We're talking about using our ults, our defensive ult defensively, rooting people who aren't the tank, right? I also don't really like the setup here in the lower choke, right? I think that you could come up here, probably jump the echo, spook her with a really nice root, because, I mean, how are you gonna miss this root, right? I mean, this is just a straight shot, right? And literally no other angle to hit it on, right? And we're throwing hats at targets that, you know, haven't quite engaged yet, right? So we definitely walk away with a couple of little details, a couple of little pointers, but we really won't get the opportunity to talk about some of the more interesting Overwatch stuff until we start putting ourselves in positions where those concepts and ideas and scenarios become more pertinent to us, right? I won't be able to talk about your angles, your pressure, your target prioritization until you're up in the high ground positions that are being contested by certain targets and certain damage sources, that then we can talk about that stuff as interesting. A little unfortunate to lose your Junkrat here. I don't necessarily know that there's anything for you to do about that. I like that you're eyeing this high ground position. I like that route that you have. Make sure that you're healing your monkey. I think you just sent a hat to him, and it's a little unfortunate that he ends up dying. You guys both go really aggressive on that. Now here's the Rhine. You want to be thinking about how you're going to use your ult, but you don't want to let it rip yet, right? Remember, it's a defensive ult, so you want to use it maybe for the Emre ult or for... I don't actually know what you would use it for here, but I wouldn't necessarily use it for that. I probably wouldn't use it for that. You want to be able to use the full Emre ult, so like ulting the corner, right? There's a whole section of it that like none of your team is going to use. You're also placing it forward, and if you're placing it on top of, so the way that that Mizuki ult works is it nullifies enemy projectiles that pass into it, but not out of it. Once you're in the ult, projectiles will just go. So it's only if you're on the outside, which means if you're ulting on top of red team, literally none of their projectiles are being nullified, and that is what you are using the ult for. You are using it for projectile nullification. It's the same as it's a giant diva defense matrix, right? So I like you challenging the Emre up there, by the way. I just want you to do it in a way that that, you know, is a little more subtle, where you're kind of sneaking up on him. Maybe you shift up to him, right, so that you can anchor out, right, and you save that E so that you can prevent him from being able to move anywhere with his gun, right? You haven't gone up to the high ground. You're going to end up stuck here on the low ground, and you end up kind of swinging out here instead of swinging back up these steps, right? And again, you might have been, if you even move on this guy early up here and are able to get him out, because your mechanics are, again, like pretty good, pretty fair mechanical output that you're capable of here, Jimmy B. It's possible that you're able to clear up that space to then utilize against the people who are all coming out from underneath, right? I don't want to walk backwards on the low ground against a team, a brawl composition that wants to walk at me and force me backwards on the low ground. I would rather just swing up the steps and let them all walk out, and then pick the squishies who are walking out behind their Reinhardt, so that their Reinhardt eventually can't do anything while he's standing on the point holding shield, right? Alrighty, so I had watched up to this point when I was looking earlier and taking my notes. Really just because, you know, again, we've gotten the major takeaways here, and I still do like some Kira gameplay. So this is a character that you can play some longer ranges on if you would like. You can also take some off angles as well. Make sure that you're healing your team. So I like you coming back up on top of your Ashe here and making sure that that she's topped off. Although be careful, you don't want to stack on the same position as the rest of your team, right? You want to make sure that you're holding different angles, getting different different angles for different pressure, different LOS on different targets, right? Is it really easy for you to consistently turn around onto the Ashe, right? Does that mean that you should just play with the Soldier and the Diva and let Ashe be someone that you're on a heals? If you do need to heal the Ashe, could you consider doing it from like up here where you can do damage and do healing like so? Should we have been climbing a little more, a little earlier on, right? How are we going to use our TP? We were playing out here for quite a while, right? Do we understand where our teammates are so that we can TP to them when the time is appropriate, right? That's a really important consideration to have on Kiriko. Generally, that leads us to a really important principle, which is like we should always really know where everyone in the lobby is at all times, right? That way we're able to, if we're Zen, we know what our Discord and Harmony targets look like. If we're Kiriko, we know what our TP network looks like, stuff like that. Jimbo, thank you so much for submitting this replay code. There's, as always, a lot that we don't get to talk about, and that's just because, I got to tackle these really quick. I have such a limited time, and so for all of those who are interested in getting coaching, get in touch. We can set something up. But in the meantime, I hope that you guys really enjoy these shorter videos where we just kind of scratch the surface, get a couple of core takeaways, and then call it from there. Keep things really light and fun, like the classical music that we've got in the background is Beethoven Violin Sonata Number 5 in F major, Option 24, that's playing right now. I really have to link these songs in the description for you guys. So yeah, Jimbo, thanks for seeking me out and for letting your gameplay be elevated on the channel today. I really like the mechanical output, like I mentioned, that you're capable of, and I think that if we just see a couple of corrections here in the way that you're using the map and the way that you're using your ults, really embracing the ways that these characters play, and especially the matchups, the way that they play against some of the characters that they do, right? So Emre ult, I hate having my Emre ult deleted by Mizuki, right? I hate not being able to cat noon as Cassidy, because they've just placed a cage over them, and it's going to last longer than my ult will, right? I think that once we understand like how to use our ults, how to path up to high ground, how to do that early so that we can be free as possible to do all the things that we need to do from high ground, right? Have the best angles on the best targets, everything that I've already said, right? I think that you're going to find it really easy to climb. Mizuki, in my opinion, is a real nothing burger of a character. I think he's fun, but also not really interesting or special. And so I was really glad to have a Mizuki gameplay that we can really appreciate. Although honestly, I think we've looked at a little bit of Mizuki gameplay on the channel before, and it's all been a blast, honestly. So maybe I'll just hate playing them. Who knows? And so hopefully this is helpful to you and to other Mizuki players. Oh yeah, also, mind your roots. Stop rooting only the tank. Although you had some really good ones on some of the squishies. That seems to be a consistent thing across Mizukis, though. But I think that Mizukis that we've gotten to watch have made them look really fun. So maybe I'll have to give them another shot on ladder once I've finished OTPing Emre. Guys, if you enjoyed the content today, found it educating, insightful, entertaining, then leave a like on the channel, leave a comment, show a little bit of early support. It means a lot to me and to the channel, and will help us in the long run. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of the day. Be good to each other, be fair to yourselves, and I'll see you guys again next time.